do with Mongoose, it was like it was the, we were, yeah, we were requiring the models, the index file. It was in the model folder.
The index.js was in the models folder. Is that what it is?
So it was like we had an article model, we had a note model, we had the index model, and then we were exporting those models into the index file. But then in our server file, we were only requiring the entire
Right.
folder. And so I was like, why did we do that?
Yeah.
Because you're exporting.
That's interesting. That's actually the Node's way to get that whole export the whole folders. So if you have that index.js and all the models, and you export it, it will export the whole model, the whole folder, everything that is within it. The other ways to do it is you export each one model, but instead if you have that syntax, that index.js file or something, so Node, if you do an export of the whole folder, Node kind of looks for that file and exports everything within it. Yeah, that's Node.js. That's Node.js.
4 days later.
Yeah.
Feels good.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. All right. Welcome to week 19. Is he what? Oh, he's sick? Oh, okay. Well, let me. Did I slack out the links? I did not. This is stream link for today's class. All right, Reggie took a wrong time to get sick, but I hope he's streaming. I hope he's streaming. All right. Oh no. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to week 19. Week 19 is React Week. All right. Before we begin, I don't know if you saw or you congratulated Nick on Saturday. Apparently, he's working for Carvana now. I saw their LinkedIn. Yeah, congratulations. So he's going to be, Michael and him are going to be. If you guys want, talk to him. Maybe he can share some interview experience with Carvana or something. I'm not sure how his experience was, but highly recommend talk to him. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot of stuff to cover. Okay, I said React Week. We are going to get to React, just not today officially. All right. All right. Well, hear me out first. Officially, we'll begin React on Thursday, but what we are going to do today, trust me, it's like 40% of React. When you look at the React code, today what we are studying, that's like, it will cover the syntax for React like 40% of the time, okay? The problem with this is that if we do not do this right now, once we start React, we will have to come back and do it at some point, okay? Again, it's the precursor. If you don't understand this, you will not understand React, or you will confuse React with something else. You will think, oh, wait, maybe this is how you write React, or this is the syntax for React. It's actually not, right? React has nothing to do with it. You can write the same code in your app without using React, okay? So that's why today, when I'm talking, please concentrate, take notes, because this is important. All of these, we have a lot of exercises today to cover. Some of them are optional, but I don't know why. Well, it might be because of the time, but I want to get through each one of them because I think all of them are important and are being used in React. Okay? All right. First of all, we will begin with some terminologies, right? Some names, okay? The first thing is, we started, so today everything is going to be front end. We are kind of jumping back to JavaScript, okay? So we started with JavaScript, right? JavaScript has an official name. It's not JavaScript. If you guys hadn't already seen it, it's called ECMA script. This is the official name for JavaScript. So if you look into white papers or you read any official updates from JavaScript world, you will see that being referred to as ECMA script. Okay, ECMA is the organization that is responsible for maintaining JavaScript. All right, JavaScript was developed 1995 by Netscape, Microsoft, kind of, to take over that, to take that monopoly over. There was an organization that kind of took care of JavaScript after like a couple of years. So they are the ones who maintain the standards. They are the ones who keep JavaScript updated with new features and all that stuff. Okay, the organization is ECMA. All right. Um, for short, it's called ES. Again, this is an official name for JavaScript. Okay, if you hear ECMAScript or ES, it is being referred to as JavaScript. All right. The next thing is versions. All right. You are going to hear ES5. This is the 5th edition of JavaScript. It's called ECMAScript 5. Okay. This was released in 2009, and today every modern browser supports this version. It is 100%. Any features that were added in ES5 are 100% covered in your browsers, right? Every browser that you work on, all the features that are over here is covered. So up till now, the JavaScript that we have been writing, learning, everything is part of ES5. Okay. Now, there's a new version. Well, it's not new anymore, but the latest and the greatest version is, you'll hear ES6, the 6th edition, ECMAScript 6, or from here on, they started calling it by the year that it got released. So it's also called ECMAScript 2015. Okay, because it was released in 2015. All right. So ES6 or ECMAScript 2015 came out in 2015, but it is not 100% covered with all browsers. All right. It's not 100% covered, so that's why you will see some of the features are not as widely used. All right. Now, good for us. You don't have to check the Chrome version right now, but I'm 100% sure that everybody in this class has a version of Chrome that actually supports ES6. So we don't have to worry about it. If you were doing this class a couple of years ago or a year ago, there might be some discrepancies, but today, I think Chrome version number 58 and up supports ES6, and I'm 100% sure everybody in the class has 70 or something. Okay, so we don't have to worry about any of these features not being supported today. So for our case, ES6 is 100% supported on the activities and the browser that we'll be running on. Okay, but officially out there in the world, ES6 is not 100% supported yet. Okay. So these are the names and all that stuff. So today's class, we are going to look at ES6, like what are the new features in ECMAScript, the 6th edition of JavaScript. Okay, now why is this important? Because React has chosen ES6 to write its framework, like develop, like give the syntax. Most of the part, as I was saying, if you look at React code, 40% of the code is actually not React, is actually following just this part, ES6. So some of the new features that ES6 has, React has incorporated them really well. And so we need to know these new features. Up till now, we might have only covered like 1 or 2. But there are like 10, 11 features that are important to understand React. And those are only part of ES6. Okay? So React kind of uses ES6 a lot. So that's why we need to understand, learn all of those components individually. And then on Thursday, please connect the dots and you will see the same syntax when we come to React. Okay? Any questions so far? No questions? Everybody good? All right, let's see what else you have. So React uses ES6. On Thursday, we'll see some of the question could be that if not all the browsers support ES6, what happens when my website runs on a browser that doesn't support ES6? We'll answer those questions on Thursday because we are going to be developing an app on using React, and React kind of takes care of this stuff. Okay, and I'll explain what it is. But for today, we are good. Okay. The last thing before we begin coding is when you look at the solutions for today's exercise, you will see some files saying run npm, run this, and kind of make and run it on Node.js, right? Again, what is ES6? This is JavaScript, right? And where does ES6 or JavaScript runs? It's run in the browser on our front end, right? It has nothing to do with backend or Node.js right now. But if this, the reason that they have a different way to run it, or you will read another JavaScript library called Babel. Okay, we'll look at this on Thursday. I don't want to get into the details for this one, but the code that you see for solutions for today, they might be saying, hey, run it using Babel or Node.js. But I have tried and tested, and again, I'm 100% sure everybody in the class is using a browser, and you guys can confirm later on. 58 and above is probably 70. So all the code is going to run on your browser. We are going to write. We are going to look at the examples, and I'm going to share the solutions, or I'm going to do the coding part, everything on my browser, on the JavaScript side, like it is supposed to be done. Okay, so this will ensure that you guys will be 100% sure that the code that I'm showing you is actually JavaScript, and all these features are okay to run on your browser. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody good? All right, again, activities, you might see the solution, but I am 100% sure you guys are capable enough to convert whatever the solution is into ES6 or into a code that runs in your browser. Okay, it's not super complicated. You just need to see the concept and write the code. Okay. Again, today I will do all exercises, and we'll be looking at a browser console. We'll see how it runs. Everything is going to be running on our browser. No Node.js today. Okay. Is everybody clear on that?
It's clear for them too.
Who?
Oh, I'm saying.
All right, everybody good? Any questions before we begin? Otherwise, it's all coding from here on. All right, it's going to be a little bit faster because there's a lot of stuff. Again, there are some optionals, but I'm trying my best to make sure I go through like every single one of them. I think they're all important. Okay, any questions, any concepts? Everybody understand terminology, right? Good. It's going to be very difficult. I'm going to be using these words so that there's no more confusion. Good. All right. So the first thing in ES6 that we are going to look at is arrow functions. All right. So these are all ES6. These are all ES6 means they're not going to run in a previous version of JavaScript. They do not exist. All right. So the first thing is arrow functions. So I'm going to start. I'm going to create a folder and then write my HTML and index file to begin with. First thing, arrow functions. So what I did over here is I have created a template, so I don't have to keep creating these two files. But these are basically just stubbed out empty file that I'm going to keep copying into my solutions. Oh, I didn't copy the index. All right. Let's close this out. So I have my index and I have my HTML file. Okay. Again, it's just a template. It's empty. The only thing it says is look in the console. So, and then it is making a reference to our index.js file. So I'm going to run this, open a live server, and then I'm going to keep the console open so you guys can see as I run through the code. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing throughout the class. Okay, everything will be in the console, and this time it's going to be in our browser console. All right, we don't need our index HTML anymore, so I'm going to switch to the JavaScript file. So the first thing is arrow functions, right? First, I'm going to show you how do we write a function in JavaScript. You already know it. I'm just going to write it so I can show you the conversion. So there are a couple of ways. The one way is, you say function, give it a name, create. The example is create greetings, right? And looks like it was taking message and name, 2 parameters, and then simply you are going to console log message plus name. Okay. This is how you define a function in JavaScript. All right. And how do you call it? You simply say create greeting and pass in something. This is ES5. Okay, something like this, and it should output on your console. Okay, so this is one way you can write a function in JavaScript. The other way that we have been looking is using a variable, var same name. I'm going to use the same name. It's going to get overwritten by the second one. Var create greeting is equal to function. All right, then you pass in two parameters, message, name, and basically you do the same thing. Okay, the first function is getting overridden by the second one. All right, everybody clear on this? All right, so these are the two ways that we have seen. Okay, now arrow functions is a reduced form or writing the same function, and this is new in ES6. And how do we write this? So please look at this syntax and see how it converts into the new arrow function. Starts with the same create greeting. Okay, and then it's a little bit confusing at start, but I'll try to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, so you give it a name, and then after equal to, there's no keyword function. Instead, just remove this keyword function, and you are going to have your parameters. Okay, message, name. Okay, the keyword function is gone. All right, you don't need the keyword function anymore if you are using ES6 arrow function. Now arrow function, as the name, you have to put in an arrow, and arrow is single equal to sign and the greater than. Okay, so this is the arrow, and then this is the body. So this is your console log message and everything. So you have your parameters, and then you have your arrow, and then you have your body, which is console log message name. Okay, the calling, this is a definition that changes, but the calling part still remains the same. The way you call it still remains the same. It doesn't matter. The only thing that changes is how do you define an arrow function. All right. Again, from the second syntax, how does it change? You basically just remove the function keyword, and instead you put an arrow function between the body and the parameters, and that's how you do the arrow functions. Okay, now there are different flavors for arrow functions. Let's see. Okay. Var. I'm going to create a new function. Now, okay, let me create a new one and then call it message arrow function. I'm using the same from before, and then this time I'm going to log just the message. Let's call this greet another way. Okay, now over here, this second method, I use the arrow function, same thing, but this time I only have one parameter. If you have one parameter, you can remove these parentheses. So that you might come across some functions that they have a parameter, but it doesn't have parentheses. Now this is good if you only have one parameter, right? It kind of reduces even more. If you have just one parameter, you can take these parentheses out. You don't need those parentheses. Okay, that's one thing. Now the second thing is, if your function has only one line like this, right? You can take these parentheses, these curly brackets out as well. Okay? Yes, it's getting there. And I'm showing you these different ways because you will see programmers writing, I don't know, they're trying to act smart or reducing the sentence, I don't know. But you will see this, and please don't get confused that, well, I learned that it has to be parentheses, okay? And then it has to have this body. This is the basic syntax, right? I like it like this, right? But again, you will see people writing this simple syntax also. Again, if you have just one parameter, you can exclude the parentheses. If you have just one line, you can even include remove the curly brackets. All right, it will still work. You can see that I'm still able to get my console thing over here. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Yes. Matt. Right. Good question. Again, in JavaScript, it's not called what Matt is saying, lambda function. This is in other languages such as C# and Java. These kind of functions are called lambda functions. Of course, well, and then as you know, JavaScript tries to mimic other languages. They were like, well, if you guys have that, why not have this in ES6 also? So again, it's just to attract. I feel like it's just to attract programmers coming from different languages. Yes, it's called lambda function. Okay, in JavaScript ES6, they call it arrow functions. All right. Any other questions? Everybody good on the syntax? It's going to get even more crazier. Last thing. All right. Oh, now if I want to return, something from my method. Let's copy this. I'm going to give it a different name. Create greeting return, right? And what do I have to do? I have to do return message this. Okay, and then let's go ahead and call this this is 5 return. Okay. If there's a return statement, what do I have to do? I have to store it in a variable and then do a console log. Otherwise, it's not going to work, right? Var return from return var. Let's call this return var. Okay, and then if you console log, then you will see this message over here. Okay, so this is how you do the return statement in a regular function. Right, you create a function and then you just return it. Parentheses are not important. I just want to confuse anybody. Okay, this will still work. Right, now if you want to convert this into a lambda function, let's do one more thing. Let's take out the name. This is just one parameter and this is what it is. Okay, now if this is one liner, how would I convert this? I will say var create greeting return. Okay, and then I just have one parameter, so no need for parentheses. All right, it is just one line. Message, it will still work. So what is going on over here? If this thing, if you write it like this, what let's see. Let me include name so that you guys, I can show you guys that this is actually the function body. Looks like it doesn't seem like, so just to make sure, message name, and then over here, create this is return var. And then I'm not passing. Okay, there you go. Just let's add a space or something so that it's not seen. Okay. So what happened over here? I still have a body, right? Everybody clear on this syntax still here? I have two parameters, so I need the parentheses. All right. Now, what is after the arrow? It's a function body. Now, my function body is still one line, so I don't need the curly brackets. But if you are not using the curly brackets, you see this is still being returned. How do you tell this is being returned? because I'm calling this function, I'm storing this variable, and then I'm logging this out, right? And I still see message over here. So this tells me that arrow functions have a auto return thing if it's just one line. Okay, it will calculate, it will run the function body, and it will return something. It will just auto return. If it is supposed to be something that has to be returned, you capture it in a variable and log it. If not, then you can just ignore it. But what this tells me is that arrow function have an auto return feature that in one line it's going to do the function body and return. Okay, this is exactly the same thing as line number 9 to 11, right? You pass in two parameters and then you return the combination of these two, right? Combine, concatenate them, and then it returns. This is how you would write in ES6 arrow function. Okay, you don't have to put in the return statement. You don't have to do all that stuff. Only if it is one line. Okay, if you have multiple lines or you have curly brackets or curly brackets, then you see it says undefined because I'm using now. It thinks it has multiple lines, so there's no auto return. Over here, I have to manually say return, and then you will see this come up. Okay, I know it is confusing, but this is how the arrow functions are. Questions? You guys got that?
No, I mean.
Right. So why are you not asking questions? Okay, what's the question, Laura? Which part? Which part? I started from the top.
You're not even about to make it ask.
So okay, let's start from the top. This is important. You will see this in React. You won't be able to do React if you don't get this. So you have to make sure you get this. So which part were you following? Which part did you lose? All right, think about it. I'll ask Britton and then I'll come to yes, Britton.
So, at line 19 here, you had to put in the return message because you're using the curly brackets.
Exactly.
Is that, so you can't put it all in one line if you have more than one input? Could you put it all in one line like it was without the return word but with two inputs?
Excellent.
Two parameters?
So this is what Britton is asking. You see, it gives me an error. The syntax, ES6 doesn't recognize the return statement. It's going to give you an error. Basically, you can't do it.
But if you remove the word return, would it work?
Yeah. That's what I was saying. That if you don't have a return, you don't have curly brackets, then it is an auto return. It's going to calculate it and auto return it.
I just wasn't sure if you could do the one line thing with multiple parameters.
Oh yeah. That's why I put it more to show you guys you can do it with one or more. Okay, good question. What else? Why? That I cannot answer. You can go to ECMAScript and ask these guys. Yes.
It's more fun.
If you use return, you have to.
All right, hold on. Yes, if I have returned.
You have to create the return variable. Like, well, it's like two lines. So it's like the var create return.
Line number?
Line number 9.
Line number 9. Yes.
That's the one where you created that return variable at the bottom 125, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the same thing. Again, I said I'm using the same thing. What's happening? It's getting overwritten. Like, trust me, it's getting overwritten. So we are actually calling this function and not the other one. Yeah, you can change the name and test it out, but I can assure you this is the one that. And you can see if I change something, you're going to get an error over here. Okay. So the above ones are getting overwritten by the one that are following. Okay. I'm just being lazy. I don't want to keep writing, coming up with new names. Okay. All right. So again, one more time. This is how it is. Again, if I just had one parameter, it even becomes even more crazy. It just that's it. You can add something, but you cannot pass anything. This is a message. Okay.
That makes sense now, this, but I mean, there's a lot of that you see with this arrow function.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I
Again,
didn't understand.
it's
just like-
it is getting, and people once you understand, it's kind of hard to go back to the other one. But ES6, this is introduced, and you will see this a lot. And React is littered with these functions, so it is important that you Again, you saw what happened on 9 and 19. It's literally just like one line and you're done with your function.
Yeah, it's easier. I mean, it's just easier.
It is easier, but it is difficult to understand. I don't know. I had a hard time understanding it first. All right, Laura, do you have any questions? Do you understand?
Yeah, I was just going to use the same name.
Oh, this thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's being overridden. Okay. Yes. Yes.
It doesn't seem shorter, but at the same time, you have to like go back there and train
Yeah, you are losing the word function. Again, this is the syntax. I didn't create it. It does have some other advantages, and let me. Oh yeah. We are getting to the interesting part. All right, but other than the syntax, is good. Yes. Yes. There's a callback. Yeah. We are taking this declaration just like this. Var, it remains the same. Take out the function keyword, replace this with arrow, and then everything remains the same. Yeah, it does exactly the same thing. There's no difference in what it is doing. That's what people say.
This is where it's at.
All right. Any other questions on the syntax? All right. Now where you cannot use these functions. So let's go ahead. This is important so that you guys know. I'm going to create an object. All right, a dog object. Right. It has a name. Okay. It has a property called sound. Oops. Okay. And then it has two methods. Make sound. Okay. And then how do we create this? Right? This is how you create functions, right? And then you can go ahead and call this from what is the make sound. I can put a line so that you guys know where to look. This is going to be after this thing. Okay? So you see wolf. So this is how we have learned, right? Now we know our arrow functions. We can go ahead and replace this with our arrow syntax. So this would be take out the function keyword. All right, empty parameters. I don't have anything, but if you have, you can put something. And this should be it. All right, make it even more reduce. I don't even need these parentheses. I shouldn't be, right? And okay, well, it's giving us some. Let me. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, excellent. All right, this is how we have learned if you convert it into arrow function. But you see on the screen, it says undefined. Undefined. So here's the problem with arrow functions. You cannot use them in objects.
But if you
Plain
get
and
rid-
simple.
But if you get rid of this, wouldn't it just return? Wouldn't it work? I'm just looking over the documentation. I thought that it would work. If you got rid of this in the console log.
But why would
Console
I?
log sound.
But why would I console log? This is what I'm trying to refer to it, right? I'm trying to refer to this. So how do we refer?
I was just looking at it.
Oh, that's okay. But I'm saying, how do we refer to this variable in our JavaScript object? We need to use this keyword, right? There's no other way to refer to it. So that is not going to work. Again, the bottom line is arrow functions do not work in your object JavaScript. Plain and simple. All right, don't use them in objects. Okay, so you have to use the syntax that we already know to make this work. All right. Questions? Everybody good with the object part? Write it down. Do not use them in your JavaScript objects or in properties. All right. So let's keep that as is. The next example, similar to, same as this one. Let's see if we can use the same one. Let's use the same one. Make sound is a function, fix this, and then we are just console logging this dot sound. Okay, so we are back to our correct way to do it. Now, okay, let's look at our function called set timeout. All right, remember set timeout? What does set timeout do? After some time, it will execute a function or some code, right? That's what set timeout does. And if you look at the documentation or hub, the first parameter is going to be our callback function, and then you pass in some time. Okay, so it's going to be your callback function. Okay, then you do something in your callback function, and then you give it the time it's going to execute after these many milliseconds. All right, everybody good on the set timeout function? All right, and then any code that you want it to execute is going to go over here. So if I want to, instead of doing this over here, if I want to do this dot sound, okay, you see I'm going to get an undefined. All right, I have the same function. I didn't use arrow functions. All right, I'm not using arrow function. I went back to our same syntax. And if I uncomment line number 34, it works and I can see the sound. All right, but if I use set timeout function and I'm using the keyword this, kind of freaks out and says, I don't know what sound is. All right, now set timeout function, what is it part of? Anybody remember? Global function. Yes, excellent. Set timeout is a global, and global means it's part of the window object, right? You guys remember? All right. So this was the problem when we were, if you want to use some global function from the window object that you want to use in your JavaScript object, for some reason it doesn't work, right? There are some JavaScript already has a solution for you. Guys might remember there was a keyword bind. I think it was in one of the activities that we were using. If not, that's okay, right? So in this case, if you want to solve this issue, you can convert this into an arrow function and it will work. That's the solution for this, the easy solution. All right. Let me code this out and then I will come back to it. So if I want to convert this into a callback, into a arrow function, again, you saw it kind of auto-completed for me. Let me show this again. Visual Studio already has support for ES6, so it's already kind of helping me out. No. It's different. Let me go back. All right. So there's no arrow function inside the object. Is this arrow function inside the object? It's actually inside a function, right? So inside the function you can do anything. I was saying is that if you have a property that is a function that cannot be created using the arrow function, within this function you can do anything you want. It's kind of isolated now. Remember the scope part, right? It's kind of scoped out. Nobody knows what's going on over here. But this thing over here, you cannot use the arrow function. Within the functions, you can do anything you want. Arrow functions, no arrow function, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, how do we convert this into an arrow function? The only thing that you can convert into an arrow function is this part, because this is a function definition. Remember, arrow functions, we can convert our existing functions into arrow functions. Again, if you use Visual Studio and just let it complete, you will see it kind of gives you already the syntax for arrow functions. Again, compare this to it. Does it have any parameters? No. Okay, so no parameters. Does it have some line that we can put? Yeah, and that's why these curly brackets. So within these things, if you console log this dot sound. What it is, console. Timeout is not defined. Yes. Okay. Now you will see that we are able to access this dot sound. All right. Again, if here's the thing. First of all, do not use arrow functions when you are defining a method inside your object. Right? This has to be the old ES5. Okay. Now, if you are using any global functions, right, which belong to the window object within your object, they will not work with this syntax. Right? They will never work with this syntax. Right? Now with ES6, arrow functions have the built-in functionality. They do the stuff that ES5 that we have to do it, right? But you can use arrow functions to achieve the same goal. That's all. Again, just keep in mind. Probably you won't be using some of this stuff, but this is one of the drawbacks and one of the advantages of arrow functions is that you cannot use it as inside when you create a method inside your object, but you can use arrow functions when you're using some global methods in your object. Yes.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that the arrow functions inside the make sound functions because it's inside the global.
Yeah. And why is it? I mean, there's no other way. You cannot change set timeout. Set timeout is a function that they have already defined. So I can't change the definition, but what I can change is what I'm passing inside. I have to pass in an anonymous function or a function, right, as my first parameter. Instead of using this, I can use ES6 arrow function, and then it works. Why it works? Because arrow functions behind the scenes have the code that is required to make this work. Okay?
It's interesting that this still, like even though the arrow function works with set time out, this still refers to the object it's calling in there.
Say that again?
So this is still referring to the object that we started with?
Yes.
But the arrow works because we went to some global function.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I know it's difficult. Again, it has to do with the scope part. Take note of it that this is how it works. Again, I don't think you will come across using it, but it's good to know if somebody gives you a code in your interview and I say, hey, is this going to work or not? And how do you fix it? So this is the answer. Okay? There are better ways to get around instead of putting this over here. Come up with a different strategy, but this is how this works. All right. Any other questions? Again, this is a syntax. The most important part is you guys understand the syntax and how to use this. Questions? Good? All right. Let's do a quick exercise. Nick, can you Slack out number 2? So in this exercise, the functions are returned using the ES5 method. You have to convert them into ES6. Okay. Again, there's not a lot of time, so we'll take like 8 to 10 minutes. Try to get as far as you can, and then we'll jump onto the next part. All right, let me open the so I'm going to close this. Let's look at this second one. This one, unsolved. Let's see. So basically what you have to do is there are functions written in ES5 syntax. Go ahead and give it a try. Try to convert them into ES6. So that's one method, funny case, and the second method is map. Third method is filter. And then you have your object that we just saw. So kind of similar thing. So go ahead. At least firstly, please make sure that you are able to complete. These are all kind of similar, but the first three are the ones that we covered without the object and all that stuff. So make sure you guys understand and are able to convert this into ES6 syntax. Uh, oh great, I can't run this directly. So you have to create a HTML file if you want to test this out just that I am doing. So looking at this object Netflix queue, I don't see anything that needs to be converted into a arrow function. All of these are functions within this object. So these are good. There's no global function. So this is, yeah, it's just an example to show you that you can.
The watch movie and add movie
Where is it?
on 66 and 69.
But this is part of this object, right? You can't change this. It's not? It is, right? Yeah, this is, it starts from here and ends over here.
But yeah, but when I don't know, I'm just,
So remember, within the object, this is the right syntax. You cannot use arrow functions within an object. So this starts here and here. So this could be.
this is what I was looking at. I don't know if this is unrelated.
This good. Right, but it says this is the example of not to do. Okay. It's just a comparison. Yep. With the comments. Yeah, so it's the way not to do it. So yeah, you don't have to mess around with it, right? But the firstly, how many of you guys did the first one at least? Again, how do I convert the first one? Take out the function name and then put the arrow function. All right, it's a single parameter, so you can actually take the parentheses out as well. And this is it. Okay, any question on the first one? And how do we do the second one? Take the function out and then this arrow. And why can't I remove the parentheses? More than one. Excellent. Alright, that's all. Okay, and let's do the last one. Same thing. Remove the function, just put an arrow. And that's all. Now you are ES6 compliant code. Yes.
Is that always present?
What is it?
Is that always present?
Yeah.
What about the line, in example two, the variable of level, where the function of inside of a function? The line from you.
Line 20. So, oh yeah, yeah, good. Did you try to convert it? It should work.
Yeah.
So Kyle pointed out that there's a function within a function which is a callback function. That's why you see the word CD over here. So you can actually convert this also into. Yeah, why not? So how do we do this, Kyle? Remove that and just put a. Oops. Come on. This thing. All right. It's a one. Excellent. That is like it. It's a single line, so I don't even need this, and then I don't need return because it should return this thing. Excellent. Yeah. You see, from all those three lines, kind of I know it's confusing, but I don't know. I like it. It's just like one line and done, but it will take some time. But you will see these in React a lot. Good point. I actually didn't see this one. All right, everybody good? So that was it. The third one, it's a within an object. You can't really convert it. It will give you an error. All right. So let's go ahead and start the next one. The next one is, and this should be fairly quickly because we have already done this. This is the keyword let and const. All right. Let's see. Ivana, do you remember the difference between let and var? So it's the same thing, only it's new. So it's not the same thing. So what's the difference between those two? Well, I see what you're saying, but there's a difference. That's why they introduced this keyword let.
I don't know.
You haven't used in your programming yet the let keyword?
I have, but I've always thought it's just because it's changed when replacing the variable. Constant is constant, but this is
All right, what's constant?
it doesn't change.
It doesn't change. If I use create a constant variable, it doesn't change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Let. Anybody else? John?
That change.
What is it? Hoisted. Hmm.
It's not.
You guys are going too deep. It's actually not that. Jay. Remember? Anybody else? He's yeah, Kyle. That's the right word. Scope. Block scope.
Like function.
Let is block scope. Again, going back. Remember what was the problem with the var keyword? You declare any variable var, it's actually accessible globally in a different file everywhere else, right? Everybody has access to it. If you declare the same variable using let, it's block scope like it is supposed to be, right? Remember the for, if you write a for loop, what was the issue with the for loop? If you say for var I equal to 0 everything, and then you do something over here, I is still accessible because it doesn't care about these scopes, right? In any other language, that's bad. I mean, it will never happen. The JavaScript is, yeah, sure, why not? So that's why it took them 6 editions to come to the conclusion that we actually have to have something.
We can do things like other programs.
Yeah, so they introduced a keyword. Yes, Nick has a. So in the 6th edition, into the 2015, they came out. They said, all right, this is a bad idea. So they introduced the keyword let, and it has, like any other language, it has block scope. So you cannot access I outside these parentheses. All right, you guys remember?
Yes, now.
Now, I introduced this like before Project 2.
Ago.
And I've been using this on all my activities.
That is
Come
true,
on.
but we just thought it was because you like writing.
Right. Yeah. No, that's why I introduced and I said it's a good practice to start kind of getting used to it because this is coming, it is available. Maybe it's just my programming background that I'm kind of used to the block scope. I hate the variable var because it's like everybody's property. Everybody is like, oh yeah, I'm going to use var. So that's the difference between let and var. Again, let and var is a really popular interview question. The first question you walk into JavaScript, they're going to ask you what's the difference between let and var. I'm not even joking. It's not even funny. So they will ask you what is the difference between let and var. I don't know. Everybody asks that question. And it is confusing if you don't know, but this is the definition. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead. This time, Again, I thought this will be faster. You guys will be, yeah, let and const. We've been using this all along. Alright, but again, here's it. Go ahead and do the exercise. I'm not going to do let and var for you guys. Take a look at the exercise. You guys go ahead and do it. Try to remember, again, it's the same concept. Let's look at the exercise, what the exercise is asking to do. So this is exercise number 3 is the scope. It's not 3, it's actually 5, I think. Yeah, 5. Well, Nick is going to slack out that you don't guys have to worry about it. But actually, so 4 and 5 is what I just went through, and it's supposed to for me to show you the code, but I'm not going to do it. You guys let and const. This is you guys should be doing this. All right. So look at exercise this and see what they're asking. Oops. Number 5. Yes. Oh, this is actually in HTML, so you guys should be able to run this. Huh? Let's see, what does the README says. Convert all the vars to const or let where appropriate. So you guys need to make a good decision and see which var can be converted to a const and which can be converted to a let. All right. Again, there shouldn't be any var remaining in the file in the end. And then it also has functions in ES5 syntax. So go ahead and convert these into arrow functions as well. So you guys kind of get practice of like 3 things: let, const, and arrow functions. Okay, and you can run this code and it should, if I run this code, it should actually run in the browser. So let's go ahead and make sure. Oops, wrong browser. Okay, so it is running. So once you change this using var and const, it should still function as it is. So the question you're going to ask is it changing? Is this variable change? Or is there a new value assigned to this variable? If not, this becomes a constant. If yes, then use that. Okay. And then even if you make a mistake, you run it, your console will actually say you do not change the value and everything. So there's no way it's not going to work. Yes, George. Which part? What's the difference between let and const? All right, it's block scope. What do I mean by block scope? When there are parentheses, curly brackets involved in JavaScript or any other language, this is called block scope. Anything between this is called block scope. What it means is that anything that you declare inside these curly brackets is not accessible outside. Okay? In JavaScript, remember ES5 or previous version, JavaScript is not block scope, it's lexical scoping. So JavaScript doesn't care if there are parentheses, and anything that you declare over here, for example, var name, you can access it outside these curly brackets. Okay, and it will work. if you're using the keyword var, right? Unless this is a function. But now, if you use the keyword let, it makes JavaScript or ES6 block scope. This means that this variable cannot be accessed outside these curly brackets. If you try to, you will see in your console that's going to give you an error saying it doesn't exist or anything. Yes. Yes. Right. Right. That should be a const. Yes. Because it's not going to change. Yep. So any variable that you think is not going to change, you use the keyword const. If it is going to change, then use the keyword let. Okay? Yeah. So line number 1, is it a let or a const? Const, because I'm not going to change. I don't see it changing. Lines 3 and 4. Let. What about line 6? Const. Why a const? It's a function you just created once and then you're not going to recreate it, you're going to always call that function, right? So functions, a good rule of thumb is to make them constant. Okay? What is it? Okay. All right. And then, were you guys able to convert make guess into an arrow function? Well,
I was like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be changing the
right.
lines and cons. I was doing
This
the
exercise-
arrows first.
This exercise is for let and const. This is like a bonus over here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. What about line number 7? Const or var? Oh, sorry. Const or let? Let. Why let? Are you changing score? It's a good point. But are you changing dollar score anywhere? You do? Yeah. You redeclare it. Line number? Well, no, this is a different score. This is function, right? Function has a block scope. You can't access dollar score anyway. Guys, remember functions? Functions have block scope. You cannot access these variable outside of new because these are inside a function. So it's not redeclared. It doesn't even know this one. Does that make sense? I know it's been a while, but yeah. All right. So now with that knowledge, let's suppose you already knew that. So let. Why let? Why not const? Am I changing? Where am I changing score within this function? Line number 7. Excellent. Line number 8. $score.text content. Here's the interesting part. This, the only error you will get if you do a const score, if at somewhere else you do the same thing, you assign something else to the score variable, right? As an object, this is fine. You can still have a constant. You can do this. It's actually referring to the reference. So JavaScript will not allow you to assign everything to this variable, but if it is an object, you can change the properties even with a constant. It will still work. That's the catch over here. So you can do it const over here. You run it, you will see there's no error, even though you are changing a property inside the score. So this tells us that you can change the properties within an object because it's keeping a reference, but you cannot change this object as a whole. Okay, so within the properties, if you're changing, those are fine. So make it a const? Yes, make it a const, yeah. Again, the good point is I would always start with a const, and then if it gives me an error, then I change it to that. So that nobody. So this is kind of a secure way I can make sure that my variables are not being reused or are not being changed. Something that I don't want anybody else changing. So that was the catch over here, line number 8. The properties can be changed. They don't matter if it's a let or a const. Let's see. What else? Anything else that you guys saw over here that was different? Um, I don't see anything over here. It's back to the crystal method. This dot element. I don't see line 21, 22, 24. Don't see any issue. Um, would 19 be a const? What do you think?
Yeah.
Why? Why would it be a constant out of that? It's not changing. Excellent, because you're defining the function only once and you forget about it, right? Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. All right. So the prototype and render that you see, keep note of this. This is the way. This is behind the scenes. This is how it works in ES5. All the good stuff, all the fancy stuff that we are looking today, behind the scenes, still the same ugly JavaScript is kind of wrapped around this. So it's still behind the scenes. Everything is still a function that we will see. Okay. All right. Everybody good with var, with let, const, arrow function so far? Good. Any questions before we move on? What is the line number? Line number what?
Yeah.
Add when listener. The reason you haven't seen this because we are using jQuery and jQuery use a dollar sign and use this, but if you were using vanilla JavaScript without jQuery, this is how you do it. This is written in pure ES5 JavaScript. That's why you see it. All right, let's look at the one last thing and then we'll take a break. This is everybody's favorite. Truthy and falsy. You guys remember truthy and falsy?
Yes.
All right, that's what I thought. This was your favorite. It was a nightmare. Truthy and falsy. All right. Let me give you the rules and then we will look at the exercises. All right. Everybody good? All right. This is important. Now, if I'm using the word false, what does this mean? Is it falsy or truthy?
Truthy.
Falsy. This was the easiest one. I'm sorry.
The opposite.
False means it's falsy. That is going to be false, right? It can't be true. Oh, I thought this. All right. All right. So false will always result in what we call falsy, right? It will never be true because it's a keyword false. That's the definition of false.
guess.
All right. What about an empty string? Double quotes or single quote? This is an empty string.
Falsy.
Falsy. Excellent.
Boom.
Empty string will always give you falsy. Okay.
What about undefined?
Undefined.
I think that's also falsy.
Excellent. That is still falsy, right? Undefined. Null. What about null? Null is also
What about man?
falsy. What about nan? What's nan? Not a number. What is that? Falsy. It's not a number.
Falsy, not a number.
Falsy. All right. What about the number 0? What about the number 0?
Falsy.
0 is going to be falsy as well. All right.
Zero is never anything.
All right. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and let me show you the code. Let me create a truthy falsy exercise. I'm going to use my same templates here. What just happened? All right. So index.html, don't have to do anything. So I'll start with my index.js one. All right. This is already in your GitLab, so I'll do, and then I'll write this code and make sure that everybody understand why this is working like it is supposed to. Okay. Same thing. Let's go ahead and look at our console. Okay. Okay. I don't know why it's there. All right. Let's look at the first statement. True or false. What's the output for this statement? Line number 1.
False.
False. Why is it false, Joe?
It doesn't go from right to left. Doesn't
Right to
do
left.
it.
Or what's the or? Or means that either this is true or this is true, then it will return the whole thing as true. So it's going to be true, not
No,
false.
It's true.
Yeah, no, again, do you understand? So true, the or means if this statement is true or the next one is true. Any statement is true is going to return a true.
Just one of them has to be.
One of them has to be true. Alright? One of them has to be a true. Okay? So if I did false, true, still true. Okay? One of them has to be true. Right? But the and is different. What does and do? And both have to be true. So what this should return? False, because both of them have to be false. All right. Okay, still false. One of them has to be, both have to be true. All right. Now here's the important concept. There's a term. It's called short circuit. Anybody knows what short circuit means? In terms of odds, ands, and all that, so not in terms of electricity short circuit. All right. Anybody knows in programming what short circuit means?
It's where you program what's most likely to exit out of the block or
Okay.
whatever it's closest to. So in certain situations,
Ah,
you
interesting.
You put true first as opposed to false first, depending on what you're looking for as a way to jump the gun on.
Right. Right. Yeah, you are right. I mean, what he's trying to say, I get the concept, and this is what it
That
is.
works.
Anybody else? Short circuit? All right. Short circuit is a way to kind of shorten the statement, right? And this is only valid if you're using double ampersand or double or signs, everything double. Okay? Now what happens is in short circuit, this statement is not going to execute the second one. It's not going to execute this statement. Why? Because in this case, if the first one is false, can this ever be true?
No.
It can never be true. So this is short circuit. It will stop the processing just over here and exit out. And it will say, oh, I don't care what next is. I already know this is false. There's no other combination that this can ever be true, so I don't have to evaluate the next statement. It's going to stop over there. Okay? Let's look at number 4. It comes to this statement true and says and. Okay, I'm going to continue. Why? There's a possibility the next statement could be true or a false, and it could change the whole output. Right? So it's going to execute this, and then it's going to go and say false, and it's going to return the false. Okay? In short circuit, if JavaScript or any programming language is able to conclude that there's no other possibility to change anything, it will stop the your processing right over there, and that's why it's called short circuit. Again, now let's look at the OR. If it gets to true, right, and there's a OR, is there a way that this can be false ever? Right, if the first one's true. No, there's no possibility, because in this case, any one has to be true. So the short circuit way is going to stop over here and say it's true, right? But in the second case, false, there's a possibility that this statement can be true. So it's going to keep evaluating and make sure that it. So there's no short circuit. It's going to go to the next one. Okay, that's the definition. Now this becomes more clear in the next example. Again, remember this chart. If I put 0 and something. All right. What should be the output? If I do console log 0 and something, what does 0 return? False, right? Using the short circuit, will it go further? It's not going to go further because the first statement itself is false, and then it knows there's an and. It's never going to become true. So it just stops over there, and that's why you see 0 over here. Okay? So basically it tells you that it stopped over here, it will never go to the next one. Okay? Let's try well, this one is kind of easy, so what happens now? False, but I have OR, so it makes it true. So that's why it comes over here. It doesn't short circuit because it's saying, oh, there's an OR, so there's a possibility this can be true. Goes to the next one, and that's why you see something over here. Okay? Everybody good so far? All right. Let's look at this one. Empty string. Empty string is false, falsy. Okay? And then if you have right, I'll come to 0. All right. There's an array which is empty, and what is the length of an empty array? Is 0, right? So both are basically falsy, right? This is also false, and 0 is also false, right? Here's the definition of short circuit. Why did it stop over here? Because it saw this, it saw this. That's why you see that empty string over here. Now, if I switch it around, if I do array.length first and then empty space, what should be the output then? No, if I do, yes, excellent. What is it? And then what's going to be the output if I do this? Right. And what? False. No, well, it's going to be false. But what is it going to output? What is this? 0. But you guys see why 0? Because it's short circuited, even though the next one is empty string, but it stopped the processing over here. And that's what I was saying. That's what we can see that this is short circuit working. All right. Why? It came over here. 0, 0 is falsy. No need to go further. It just stops over here and says 0. The first one, empty string, and doesn't have to go further. That's why you see the empty string over here. Okay. Different type. Yeah, these are all false. False. This is why I wrote this over here. Falsy. Yes. They are falsy. Okay. Again, this is a really important concept when you're coding. There are certain conditions, and you will see when you're doing a project or activities, there are certain conditions that you don't want to proceed if it stops over here. There are certain conditions. And again, I don't have a use case right now, but I've helped people coding, and the biggest problem I've seen that they don't understand the short circuit, and they're like, well, I have this and this, but it's still not working. Right. You need to switch around if you want this to work. Right? Because in short circuit, it will stop at the first one. It's not going to go to the second one. They say, well, it's not checking my second condition. Well, it's not going to work. It's going to stop at the first one. All right? Just remember this concept. And then when you come across a use case, this will help you out. All right, let's do last one. Let's see. Let's do the OR one. So if I have empty string OR, what should this output? Short circuit, right? It's looking for the truth, but there's no truth over here. Both are false, so it kind of just stops at the first one. But it's falsy basically, right? It's looking. There's no again. Falsy is false, right? Again, this is a R. That's why, and short circuit stops at the first one. Again, it did kind of evaluate both of them. There's no short circuit over here, but it outputs the first one because that's the one that it found faulty. Okay. Now, if there was right, well, I mean, it kind of went through the whole thing, right? It has to because it has to know it, but it output the first one. Right, it's going to output the first one. Okay.
There's the zero. Wait, what am I looking at? It's the zero.
No, it's this one.
Oh. I don't know. I just, yeah.
Oh. Oh, that's true.
No, that's falsy.
No, this is still falsy. But again, I take that away. So it went to the next one and the last one. That's what it's actually outputting zero. That's right.
It went through the whole thing.
It went through the whole thing and outputted the last thing. Okay, let's do this one, and this will. If I do this, what should be the output? Now I have three. I have this, and zero. What should be the output? Zero, right? It's going through all of them and kind of come. And if I switch this around, these two, then it will be an empty string. Okay, well, you guys are getting it. So if I do 0 and then I change it to empty string, then it comes to the empty string. Okay? All right, any questions?
So,
Last thing, yes.
Well, so it looks like in the OR, it'll read it, and it's faulty, and then it'll just output the last one.
Yes, it goes. Why? Because it's going through this. Oh, there's a possibility that there's a truth. I'm going to do. Oh, there's still a possibility that it can be true. Comes over here. Oh, there's no other possibility. In the end, there's no possibility if it finds the false first. It kind of stops over there. Okay. All right. Last thing is the ternary operator. Ternary operator means part of this. Ternary operator. This is a short way to, again, it has nothing to do with, well, does it? I don't know. I'm not sure if this was, I think this was already there in ES5 also. I'm not sure. But this is a short way to do it. I think we have done this in exercises. Right? If, let's take this example that we have. If like veggies, then let's go ahead and console log vegetable stir fry, right? Else console log cheeseburger. Okay, this is the statement. This is the if statement that we're kind of used to it. Okay, now this can be collapsed into just single line using the ternary operator. And the options, how does this work? This is you write the condition that you are trying to test, okay? Then colon. Oh, actually, colon comes next. Question mark. If it is true, then do this. Otherwise, do this. All right, let me write this out. So this will be, what am I trying to evaluate? I'm trying to evaluate this statement like veggies variable. Okay. If it is true, then return vegetable stir fry, colon. The next one is going to be false. Okay. Let likes veggie is equal to false. Okay. And comment this out. Then you can save this. Let new is equal to this console log. Okay, so the above if condition can be collapsed into this thing. All right. Again, the syntax is the variable that you are trying to test, whether it is false or true. If it is true, then you put a question mark. If it is true, then this statement will be executed. If it is false, then this will be executed. Now, over here I have a string. You can put a function. You can do anything you want. These are only placeholders. Again, after question mark, anything that is true, then this is going to be executed. If this is false, this part will be executed. All right, this is called ternary operator. This is the short form to write these if statements. You will see these also are. Okay. Any questions on this one?
I mean, can you have
Yes. Hold on. Yes.
Yeah, so the ternary operator is part of the ES6 syntax.
That's what I was asking. I think we have used this before in the activities, or have we? I've seen it before. Again, I will have to confirm it. It might be part of the ES6 syntax. Might be. Again, we are on Chrome 70 version, so that's why we don't see any error or anything. But we can make sure and see. Yes.
But I don't have those using fonts,
Yeah, that's a good point. We should change this to cons. Why? Because my meal is not changing, right? This is the only way it gets assigned. I don't change meal, so you can go ahead and change it to cons. Yeah. Both. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Am I changing like veggies afterwards? Doesn't look like so. Let's go ahead and change it to. Good point.
Yeah.
It has been there. I think this has been there. Right. What was your question?
So if you wanted to have like another like an else if, you just do another question mark.
This is else if, right? If this is true, else do this.
Well, you like just make it longer, like change.
You cannot do any third one over here, but what you can do is you can create another one inside it within parentheses. Yeah. You can keep adding stuff. That's what you can call a function. You can do anything within it. So you can do parentheses and then do ternary operator. Yeah.
Okay.
But it will be within. This is the syntax. You cannot add anything extra. But this is isolated. This is isolated. So you can do anything you want. Okay. All right. Let's take a break and we'll start back at 8:15. And we'll look at some more complex ones. These were the easy ones. Nick or Troy, can you guys slack out exercise number 7? And this guys come back, take a look at the exercise.
A quick question for you.
Yes.
When you do those ands or ors, the samples we were just doing, do other languages do it that way too? Because I was just expecting a straight up true or a straight up false to come out. I mean, I get the
The
ands
short
and ors.
circuit thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually coming from other. Everybody.
So
here's the difference.
So if it's false, it gives you. Well, I guess it depends on how it short circuits, but it actually gives you one of those values, not just a straight up false. Because I understand the short circuiting logic. It's
Okay.
just like we console log 0 and a null string.
0 and a null. Yeah.
And it short circuits because it's an and, right? So it returns 0.
Yeah.
Would I do all languages do that, or would other languages say
return
that's
you-
false?
That will say false.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the only other one I probably did this years ago or something else, but the only thing I've done it recently is Excel. And Excel will just be like, nope, that's
No,
false.
yeah, every other language is a false.
Okay.
and, yeah, they want.
Okay. Yeah, this
is.
is weird.
Yeah.
But like the actual logic makes sense, but not just
Yeah,
returning
but
a straight up
not
boolean.
yeah, it will
is
return the
bizarre.
whole result.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yes. Hey.
Hey, I have a quick question. So
Uh-huh.
next week I have a meeting with 11 hours scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Just talk about career progression and everything in that regards. And I want to show my portfolio, my
Okay.
profile. So this is what I got so far deployed to
that's
give.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so right here, about me, drop down,
Oh yeah.
and click that. I just need to fix this a little bit. Make
Okay.
this nicer.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, and then this is everything here.
Yeah.
Just need to fix that a little bit. But besides that, you think this is like presentable?
Yeah,
Everything's
of
good. Just
course.
gotta fix that.
That's excellent. Yeah, I like it.
And then
Oh yeah.
I just gotta get this, fix this, and then functionality right here.
Yeah.
But this is good. Like the
Looks
design,
good.
everything's
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like it.
okay. Perfect. Yeah. I'm
Yeah, it
just,
looks really good.
yeah. And then next thing I just need to make is like my LinkedIn and then
Okay.
update my
Yeah.
resume.
Sounds good. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah. Very nice.
Well, it's better than the first one I showed them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let me find it. I think I still have that repository. It's hideous. I'm ashamed how bad it was. It's a repository. Find it. I think this is it. This is it. 10 months ago.
You have it deployed?
Yeah, I think this is the one I deployed like a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is it.
Oh, yeah. That's a big step. Yeah, this is the stock one. That's
Yeah.
the exercise one. Oh no, that's that looks really good. Yes. Yep.
And then what else should I do? Just those three things you think I should be good, and then
Yeah, it should be good. I don't know what the meeting is about. What is it?
it's just basically a feedback and career progression.
Okay. Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, because so there's like uncertainty for Fast G, so they're thinking
Uh-huh.
about getting rid of Fast G.
Okay.
I think we're getting rid of. That's what the rumor is. They think we're getting rid of the investments part at USAA.
Oh
They're
really?
thinking about selling it to a different brokerage firm.
Oh,
And
okay.
one of them is Fidelity.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh, go for that. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Good. When is it?
It's going to be next week across the street.
Okay.
Oh, you're
yeah,
ready.
yeah. Come over, get free coffee. There's free
Yeah.
Starbucks coffee. if you
Hey,
drink
and then I can
coffee.
play you in ping pong.
Yeah. Let me know when you're
We're gonna
coming
go down.
over.
We're gonna slide
Oh,
here. We're gonna go down there.
Yeah, you guys have too much free time over there. You guys are playing ping pong.
So you have to do a get sold. Oh, that's three, right? I'm not that big, right? Two, that's where like half of like the lighting is right now, like half of this. Two is not. I saw that email that they have in like yeah, it's because we're.
Look at you guys talking like colleagues over there.
Well, it's because I'm like,
Hey, you fancy guys over there. Marijuana guys. Do I get a discount? Instructor discount? Yeah. Yeah, he's already he's a future
it's
marijuana employee.
yeah. My brother-in-law are on the same team.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
My brother-in-law actually got set up on Monday.
Oh, yeah, I thought that you were just so. Yeah, I saw it. It's like pop up.
Everybody's secret like everyone has like their own groups. Like they all walk around together and shit. It's like a Silicon Valley. Yeah, the programmers. There's always at least one dude who has a beard. Yeah. He's like big, skinny guy. I swear, dude, like the rumor, like the stereotype is definitely true.
Yeah, I don't know if you met him, but I was I actually got to meet Pablo. The bar is on Monday. He's one of the teammates, but I think he's inside here. Oh, okay. Yeah.
He is in here.
Yeah. He's one of the teammates. Like you saw, there's like 50 different teams, even on like that one page.
You know Brian Mendes?
Brian,
I'm Trent Duffy. That's Brian.
oh, okay.
So we sit over by it's that area where it's like that covered area upstairs where they have like the chairs and the after curtain and that has the
such a difference in my whole job, dude.
It's fun.
No, it really is.
We like for literally nonstop for like 2 hours. We do just eating
Like some dude like that all I'm sitting there trying to like do work and shit. Like I've never seen any of people like that that out.
So over at HQ2, we trade supporters infamous for having their Fenways on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
That was usually when we had like 1 or 2 weeks. And then trades just goes crazy. It was like shoot each other because nothing happened on Sunday. And I was like, yeah, every day. People call in there. And it's crazy.
I've seen the evolution of how I remember when it first popped out, and it seems like they're smart because they focus a lot in the experience, the user experience for their customers, for the people selling it, for everyone, that's investing in the development team that is go wild. So what team are you on?
So I'm on the team that deals with like transactions and stuff. So I don't really know what that part entails, but I'm still on that.
Maybe you're working with like five.
So customers have the ability to use their bank account through Slack. So I don't know.
That's probably
Yeah. We also it might have to like transactions.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I remember Brian was talking about something along the lines where it's like inside the whole kind of financial aspect of the people, get financing, it's like a small sliver of like capital.
Okay. Right.
Throw something in there. Just because
That part doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So how many interviews did you go on?
With them, 3. So I had one in person, which they asked me, like prepare, for that questions. And then the second one was another phone interview. And then the third was like a 2-hour in-person. So I was basically thrilled to question my so it was pretty intimidating, but it was cool, man. Luckily, I didn't have to do any work. I was stressing just a lot.
That was really
Oh, I mean, seriously, left and right, left and right.
I probably they have different tools, but I'm sure what you were going for is more.
Well, I mean, that's so. This is my second time applying for Titan. So the first time I applied, I was able to get an interview, but I didn't have the experience that they wanted. Just because they've had really bad luck with hiring inexperienced developers in the past, and they just they didn't perform to what someone needed. And so now because they're growing so quickly, they can hire a little bit less experience compared to like 5 or 6 years experience. But I was finally able to
Cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first job is always going to be something that you don't really want. You need it. Right? And then after that, as soon as you get, once you get into like the 3 to 4 year mark of your, professional career, that's when you can start really good.
Well, you do really, man. Thank you. Very helpful resources and all that.
Yeah, dude, it's been a long road. I think so I applied to Taiwan last year, and that was the first time. And I applied again this year. In between that time period, I probably had 10 to 15 different interviews. Some that I didn't want to, go through because, like, I was only interviewing to see, what I could get. And there were a couple that were just like, well, this sounds pretty, this is kind of cool, but yeah, so it took a while. Cool. Yeah, man, the journey you need. Well, all right.
all of that shit is really, really good. I know, I think it's like the leads on the no, because like the one on the left is that it you know, like that's it's only because it's like what we're doing. We do a lot of stuff on the TV, but we don't really go to the ground. I think that all the off it's really helpful. Yeah. If you don't know, you guys know it's like
No, he's not here.
No. We can talk.
I think I.
So we are working on the truthy falsy exercise that Nick slacked out. On solve one, that's what you're working on.
I mean, so with the updated ones, from like the first time you put it in, the only real like changes is making sure that you link like the portfolio section, you link, you know, instead of having this, you know, static, you know, images like we had before, you would have those actually linked to like GitHub previous time. Probably that.
Oh, the GitHub repo, not like the pages.
Oh, both the repo and everything and the like.
But like it's not too low.
What is it? Well, I think I'm like talking and walking around. That's why I went to ask you. But yeah, I've heard this. Every cohort I've heard.
It's like so cool.
And it's like so warm over there. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
Why am I good up, okay? Crazy.
We must control these reactions. Good job.
All right, so we are working on the truthy falsy exercise. Nick has slacked it out. In this, the first one you have to convert it into the short circuit statement, and the second one convert it into the ternary expression. So in the first one, if the message comes in, if it's not an empty string, then you output this. That's what we are trying to do. Don't use the ternary over here. Use the short circuit statement. The or the and. This is number 7. Yes. So if I'm using the short circuit, this statement, how does this change? I'm getting a message, and then okay, that's just line number 9. So I converted line number 5 to 7 into line number 1. So why? What's the condition saying? If there's no message, right? If it comes in empty, that's why you have the not. So if this is true, it converts it into false. So if this is empty, this is going to convert into true, and then it's going to say hello world. This basically means that I'm passing an empty message. If the message is empty, then output hello world. If you convert into short circuit, this is the same statement. If message is there, then assign message to message variable. Otherwise, go ahead and assign hello world to it. So either or. If this is there, true, then do this. Otherwise, go ahead and do this. That's the conversion from the short circuit one. Yes.
So why is it
Instead of log message is a function. This is the function, and I'm getting a parameter called message. So I cannot use this because this is a function. I cannot use a function inside my function. I can use a parameter. Remember, this is arrow function. This is the name of the function. This is the parameter, and I'm using the parameter. This is just the name of the function, log message. So this log message is being called on line number 13. So you call this method, right? And you pass in something. Over here, it's being passed empty. So it's going to say hello world. I go ahead and pass in something, then it will output the same message. What about the second one? Second one, you have to convert it into a ternary operator. Anybody able to complete that one? Okay. What do you have? What do I?
So what I have is I have constant working operator.
Excellent.
So this is true.
All right. So const. Been working all day.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to log this message, right? Okay. So been working all day, and then
So true.
set it to true.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
const feeling is equal to been working all day, question mark. Okay. Okay. I mean, the syntax and everything is correct, but why did you do line number 26? You're kind of hard coding it to be true every time. If you look at the method, this true and false is being passed in. This is the method, right? Log_tired, and I'm passing this value. If you do this, it's always going to hard code. It's never going to be false. But this is where I'm setting it to true or false. All right, one more time. So log_tired is my method, and my method I'm passing in true or false. Okay. And if this is true, then do this. If this is false, then do this. If I do this line, been working all day is going to be true always. You see the of course. I mean the statement and this is right, right? But you're assigning it to a new const. But what am I trying to do? I'm trying to log this message, right?
So I mean, it still doesn't.
Yep. No, you're right. It's console log feeling, but we already have this variable message. We can just reuse it, right? So message, right? So you don't need this line because we are actually getting the value, right? And then all of this kind of goes away. Okay. So yeah. Right. So this is how you convert lines 20 to 24 into one line of query. Okay.
That messed me up too because I wasn't even looking at the blog tired. True.
That's what I was.
Oh yeah, that's why I say look at the whole code, look at everything, and then go ahead and start solving. Okay. Everybody. What is it? Yeah, you can actually get it. Just put it over here, right? Yeah. There you go. Better? There's even better way. Just copy this whole line and just push it. How about this? Don't even need this message. Now it's getting weird, right? There. All right. Any other questions other than the last line? What I did. All right. Everybody get an idea, and you guys see and appreciate that this is the arrow function. You see the exercises are kind of getting into the arrow function methods now. All right. This is not the normal one. This is the arrow function. Again, can I remove the parentheses from being working all day? Unnecessary. You can even remove the curly braces, especially when I do this. So when you need any of those.
So
Right?
come on,
Right.
let's do it. One line.
Come on.
One line. Come on. Do it, coward.
Well, that's not what I'm doing, but this is what Michael is forcing me to do. This is it.
I am not a coward.
There you go. One line.
I like it. It's so clear now because you see that a lot. Like I've seen that a lot written, and I just didn't understand. Well, where is the function? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. You guys can play around with this exercise on your own time. All right.
You proved he's not a coward, so we can.
No, that's not. I was already doing it before you said it. All right. Next one. Functional loops. Basically, functional loops. Basically, loops. Now, in ES6, we have 3 more loops that are available to us. The first one is called for each, filter, and map. Okay, again, these are some concepts that are again borrowed from different languages. Um, they kind of have these separate functions, and we will take a look at each one of them. For each, filter and map. All right. Since this is a loop works on an array or a list, right? So we are going to create an array and then use each one of these to see how they are working. Let's do the first one. All right, so this is done, this is done. I'm going to create a new project, same way, and then copy my template over. Functional loops. Let's call this, and this. Copy my files over. I don't need index. Oh, I need to run this, so let me go ahead and server. Open the console. All right. All right. So the first thing is these are loops. We need an array. So this is in your exercise. So I'm just going to copy over an array and go over that array. Okay. So this is an array of objects. All right. Movie patrons, name, and this object each has a name and an age. All right. An array of objects with two properties, name and age. All right. Everybody good? All right. So let's look at the for each one. This is kind of, I think we have looked at for each before. So it's going to be movie patrons dot for each. Okay. You see it gives you a help. You see the callback function. The first is a callback function. And in that callback function, you can pass in three parameters. Value, or you get three parameters. Value, index, and the array. For each. Okay, so the first method is our callback function, right? And this callback function is giving us three values. The first was the value, index, and array. All right, so we are not going to worry about our index and array. We are just going to jump to the value that it gives. Right now, what is the value that is coming back? It's going through this array and it's returning basically each row, which is each object. All right, so it loops through the array and gives you the object over here. The first object, then the second, then it's going to loop through the third, fourth, fifth, and so on. Okay, so you're getting the value in our patron parameters. All right, now this is the old way to write it. Let's go ahead and convert this into our arrow function. So if I have to convert this into our arrow function, I don't need function keyword, right? And I just need to replace it with my arrow over here, and that should be it. Okay, everybody good? All right, so if you want to use all three parameters, the second two are index and array. Index just gives you the number it is looping through. All right, so the for each, what it does is it basically loops through each one of the elements in an array. All right, so if I do a console log of a patron, you will see that it goes ahead and logs each object out. That's what for each does. So it's basically like a for loop, but the parameters are you need to pass in a callback function. This callback function takes in one mandatory parameter, which is the element that it is returning. The other two are index and the whole array. So if you put in I, this is the index, so if I do I, it should give me indexes back. Yeah, there it is. Oops. Okay. All right, if I'm not using the index one, this is all, and then I can go ahead and reduce this to just one line as well.
So it just knows this is basically a flow that if you put high,
How does it know?
it's a flow.
No.
What is this? What is the first parameter of for it? All right.
What is it? Did you get it?
It's a control. That's what I got.
No. I'm talking about the for each method. Now look at the documentation. What is it expecting? What parameter is it expecting?
Callback.
It's a callback function. All right. Now my callback function has three arguments, three parameters: value, index, and an array. And that's where this is coming from. It has nothing to do with what you were saying. So this is my callback function that I converted into the arrow function. Okay, that might be the one that's why it's confusing. But since this is just one liner, I don't even need all this. Just one line over here. Okay, again, this is for each is expecting a callback function, and that callback function has you need the element that it is returning. That's why you can call this anything you want. Okay, again, it's a for each. You can call this anything you want, but the first parameter of your callback function is going to have the element, this thing. You can call it anything you want. The second one, that is optional, I'm ignoring it, but the second one is going to give you the index. If you do comma, index, and then console log, you see the index number shows up. The third one, this gives you the whole array. I'm not sure why, but that's how it is. But the first one is important, so that's why I use it. Yes? You have a question?
So inside the function, you do like you say patron dot name.
Yes, you can do patron.name. Excellent. Yeah, it's just an object, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you the name. Yeah, it's returning you this element, and this element is basically an object. So you can do dot name, dot age, anything you want. Okay? Yes. What is it? I didn't get it. By the index? Again, for each is looping through your whole array. It is not searching, it is not finding anything specific, right? For each means I'm going to go through each object and I'm going to give you your element over here. Now you want to do anything with it, that's up to you. But for each, it's just looping through and giving you these things. Now you want to extract this out or that out, you have to do in the function body. For each won't do it for you. For each, what for each will do is it will just loop through, just like a for loop, right? For loop that gives you each one. It doesn't do anything. Within the for loop body, then you do something with it. This is the exact same thing. It's just a for loop, but with a different syntax. That's what it is. Now you want to modify. We'll look at the other methods where you can modify stuff, but for each, it's just going to go through and give you this. Now you can do anything you want to with it. You can change the name, console log, add the ages to you. Okay, again, for each just loops through the array. That's all it does. Okay, and gives you each element. Okay, now the second one is filter. Filter, as the name says, it will filter out some of your elements based on some criteria, some condition, right? That's what filter does basically. So when you call the filter method, you give it a condition. You say, hey, based on this condition, filter these results out. Okay. Now, filter method will return an array. For each, doesn't return anything. It just loops through it. Whatever you want to do, you have to do in the function body. Filter function returns a new array, a filtered array basically. All right. Let's suppose you want to filter from this array. You want to only get people with a certain age. Let's say Anybody above 22, give me only those patrons. Alright? So filter method will return a new array with only Alvin and Ashley. We will filter that out for you. Okay, let's see how it does. Um, so movie patrons dot filter, that's the method. Again, same thing as for each, a callback function with same parameters, value, index, and array. Same thing. There's no change in the callback function. Okay, so this time I'm going to follow the same arrow function. All right. So I get my patron just one parameter, so I don't have to worry about putting parentheses. Okay. All right. Now let's suppose I want to get all the people above age 17. Yeah, let's do that. So I say patron dot age is greater than 17. Again, this is same as if I did this. My callback function, right? I get a patron, okay? And then what I do is I just do return patrons dot age is greater than 17. Right, I'm using the short condition over here. This is same as if patron dot age is greater than 17, then return true, else return false. Okay, in the filter method you have to return either true or false. That's how it is. Based on this condition it will filter it out. If it is true, that element is included in the new array. If it is false, it's going to get excluded. Okay, so let me remove this. Let's go back over here. Now I said filter function returns an array, so go ahead and save this to a new array. Okay, and so that we can see the result, and then go ahead and let's see if I can make it look a little better. Okay, so you see at the bottom we are getting three elements back. So what does filter do? Filter will give you a new array. Remember that for each doesn't return anything. Filter will give you an array which is going to be always less than or equal to the total array. All right, it can't be greater. It's going to be either less or equal to. So equal to in the case when this condition is never met, right? And less than if this condition is met. So what am I doing? I'm saying filter out these objects where the age is greater than 17. So I'm only interested in people with an age. There's a movie that requires there's an age limit, so I'm going to only allow people with an age of 17 or more, greater than 7, not even 17 because I don't have the equal to it. It's going to give me people with age greater than 17, right? Again, you can filter out with any of. You can filter out, give me names with people Sarah. Then it's going to give you only one. Okay, so you have to, when you're doing filter, this thing, it has to be a condition that returns either true or false. That's all, and that's how it will fit. If this is true, it will be added. If it is false, it's going to exclude that result. Right? For each doesn't return anything. Filter returns a new array, and then when you do a callback function, this has to be a condition which should return true or false. This is how filter works. So it will basically filter out an array for you. All right, questions? Yes.
So if you are doing how it returns true or false, if you say filter based on, I know it's going to be yes or no, yes or not. So if it's false, it gets returned. If it doesn't,
It will exclude. Yeah. False. Basically, if this returns false, filter method inside has a condition. Or if this returns false, then this is the record that I need to exclude. Right? This is my record taken over. Right? It loops through each one. Gets the first one, checks. Oh, this is false. So I'm going to exclude this one. Then it goes to the next one. Then exclude it. So it's actually looping, but it's filtering.
say true or false.
True and false. That's right. Okay. Again, everybody clear on this syntax? Arrow function. I'm passing the first parameter, and this is my function body. It only has one line. I remove the parentheses. Auto return, so it automatically returns true or false for me. Okay. All right. Let's do the last one, which is the map method. Now, map is same thing. It's going to return an array, but the size of that array would be the same size as your original array. Right? Remember, what does filter do? Kind of reduces or keeps the size same. Map function will return a new array, but it's always going to be the same size. It's not going to filter anything else. If it doesn't do that, what does map do? The function, what map is used for is modifying your array over here. Okay? What does, let's see. Movie patrons dot map. Again, same thing. Callback function which takes in value, which gives you back value, index, and an array. Right? Same as the previous ones. Using the same syntax, so we are going to get our patron back, and then we have our function body over here, and it's going to return something, right? Because it's going to return a new array. Now, let's see what I want to return. If this is the condition, I'm going to write the proper condition, the complete one. Well, yeah, the older version. So from our previous, we were saying if age is greater than 17, then do something else. Do something else. Okay. All right. Does this property exist in my array? It does not, right? But can I add a property to my array, to my object? Right? I can, right? Remember, from the objects, I can, Wild West, you can just go ahead and create a new property. So what am I doing over here? I'm saying if the age, I'm adding a new property to my existing array. I have name and age, and I'm adding a new property over here. Can watch our movie. Okay, and the value is going to be true or false. Please look at the return type. The return type in our filter method was true or false. The return type in my map is going to be the same object or the same element that you're passing in. So it modifies this current element and then returns it. And that's how it creates the new array. So if I have const put this here. And then if you go ahead and console log, oh, is my parentheses good? Okay. New Okay, so you see, why is it still returning the same amount? It will return the same. That's what the map is. It doesn't change the count. It will always return the same number of elements. Now, if you see, this property has been added to it. So that's what the function of map is. Map modifies your existing array with something different. Over here, what we did, we added a new property to it. So basically, that's what map does. It kind of maps it into a new array, but the array length or the size doesn't change. It will still be the same. Yes.
So when you first say patron, you're referring to an element of the array.
Exactly. Which is line number 22. This whatever. If I change this name to P, everything changes to P.
But then on line 29, you say return patron.
Right. The same parameter that I'm passing. It has to be the same thing. So if you look at the regular syntax, the parameter that is coming in my function is being returned the same thing. Why? Because this is in scope, right? I still have access to it. I modify the existing one, and then I update the one that came in, and I just return it.
You're pushing back in the same element.
Push. Yes. Yes. Right. Right. If you don't do this, then it doesn't know what changed. That's how it's keeping the reference. All right. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, you can do anything. Yeah, you can do it the same one. Yeah, as it's a function body, you can do anything you want. You can add a new property. Age, this, you can add a new property over here. Keep adding.
But with that, I mean, because like over there.
Yes, it will add a new property.
Yeah, but it has to we just have to relate that question. So like this one, you're saying he's can work on it.
Yes.
Do that false. If you ask the other question,
Okay. Yeah.
would it tag on to that false if you're on the end, or would you have that would be wiped out and you would use
You can use the same one. So at this point, I already have this patron.movie created, right? So I can say if then you can add a new property like this also patron dot.
Like more dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she means like just
Is that what you mean?
dot maps, like do dot map. And
Oh no. Dot map.
Yeah.
No, I mean the thing is why not? Because this is going to map through this. But if you want to like add more conditions, this is the place you would add it, and this is how you do it. It's possible to do it within this condition. So that's why there's no dot map. Because I understand you're trying to map like multiple conditions, so all of this can go inside the function body and just return it in. So over here, I said, oh, if this is true, then add a new property. You can keep doing until whatever properties you want. It's just like treat this as a function that returns an object or whatever your element is, just like a function. You can do what? Yeah, you can do anything you like. It will still work.
Don't do that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. So let's go ahead and do exercise number 9. Exercise number 9. So take a look at maps and filters. Study and complete the. Let's start with the filter. where's my filter? Filter that runs through the original array containing only its prime numbers using the prime function. This is actually, if you really get it, it's actually really easy. But I can see the confusing part. So you are obviously going to use the filter method, and the filter method is expecting a callback function, right? A callback function. What is that function? So I have an array, original array, that I have line number 3, I have a filter method that is being called on the original array, and it's getting data, it's checking if it is divisible by 2, right? And it's returning. So it will return to a new array with values which are basically divisible by 2. Right? That's what line numbers 3 to 7 are doing. Any questions? Or this part is solved for you. I'm just going through it. Everybody understand? That's why it's called even numbers. So basically, if it is divisible by 2, so you will get 2 and 10. You should get 2 and 10 back. So an array with 2 elements. Alright? Lines 12 to 17. It's a function. The function is called is prime. You pass a number to it, and it checks if it's a prime number or not. Okay? Now number 1, a filter method that runs through the original array. So it's going to be same as line number 3, original array dot filter. Start with that, and then it says creates a new array with only prime numbers. So you need to filter the original array with only, it should give, the new array should give you only prime numbers. So it returns me a new array, so I'm going to create a variable, and then it says run on original array dot filter method, right? Now what goes inside here? What was that? Is prime. Excellent. Basically, filter method is expecting a callback function, okay, right? And you already have a function that does it for you, is prime. So you can actually just call is prime over here, and oops, and this should take care of it. You guys get it? So filter method is expecting a callback function. Okay, a callback function which has at least one parameter, and in this case, this is a numbers array. So the first value would be a number, right? Do you already have a function that already exists that is expecting a number and does everything for you? You just call this in your callback function. Basically, what you're doing is you can copy this whole thing and put it over here, or just call this function. Okay, why? Again, filter is expecting a function. A function with at least one parameter. And the one parameter, the first one is value, index, and array. Okay, we are just concerned with the value. In this case, what's the value? A number. It's not an object. Like the previous one, each value was an object. In this case, each value is a number. Right? And there's already a function over here, is prime, so you can just call this, and then it will return true or false, whatever this method is. But basically, it is returning true or false, and that's what filter is looking for. Okay, versus the second one. Only its numbers larger than 5. So const more than 5 array, original array dot filter. Okay, and then I need to create a function that returns true or false with something. So same thing, number, that's my first parameter. I'm going to get a number, and then I'm going to check if it is greater than 5. Short form, right? It's going to check condition truly falsy and just return it over here. The extended form would be to write the whole condition over here and all that stuff. But this is the shortest way you can complete this one. Okay? Again, I know this is new, it's kind of confusing. It will take some practice. Go back, look at this syntax. Again, this syntax is littered in React. If you are working elsewhere, people are kind of tending towards using these kind of syntax. I mean, anonymous function itself was crazy. I hated that. And now this is there. So this is even more crazy. What about the map one? Let's complete the map one. So what is it saying? You did the first one? Okay, tell me what do I need to do for the first one? Cons what? Triple letter. Original array. Oops. Okay. Dot map. Callback function. Okay. Data. What am I returning? Excellent. Data times 3. Everybody get that? Map. Map works on what you're passing, right? Same size. What it does, it goes through each index and basically multiplies it. Let's see. What's the second one? Oh, you have to find if the number is odd or even.
Yeah, it was too much thinking.
So what's the main condition over here? Like what are you thinking? How do you determine if it's odd or even?
If it can be divided by.
Excellent. Okay, so you got the main part. The next is just.
But I was thinking after that. I got that simple.
Okay. Oh well, that's good if you think that's simple. All right, so I'm getting my number back, and then I need to return something. All right. So I have to return. That's why it's giving me an error. So the condition would be if num is divisible by 2, right?
Yes.
Then return even. That's it. Yeah, return even. Otherwise, return. What is it? Odd. Yeah, that's the issue. Thank you. No, it's all messed up. Okay. And this one. Okay. So this is how you do it. If it is this, return this or return this. It has to return something. Okay. Can you write it shorter? Yeah, exactly. So what do I do? Okay, what do you do, Blair?
I do
Excellent. Divided by 2 question mark. Let's wrap this in parentheses so it doesn't. It's good. Okay, and then even. Excellent. That's so these whole 3 lines. No, not 3, even 4, 5 lines. Just become this. Okay. Reduce it further. No. I'm gonna move these. Auto returns this condition, and that's how we get here. All right, again, for each filter and map, these are the new 3 functions that have been introduced in ES6. Again, a lot of different other programming languages have kind of similar functionalities. This is what it does. For each, loops through everything, doesn't return anything. Filter returns a new array, but it's going to be either the same size or less. Map returns a new array, but it's always going to be the same size as the original array. And it changes the contents of the array. Okay? Filter is not changing the contents of an array, it's returning a filtered array. All right, any other questions? All right, let's look at some other crazy stuff. It's already 9. It's a map, right? Oh, it doesn't put. It just returns. You'll see. If you run it, what do you see? It should be. It should be just saying even odd, even odd, even odd, or something. It will create a new array with even odds, even odds, even odds instead of the numbers. Yeah. So basically, you change the number array into a string array. Well, it returns you even odd, even odd, even odd. That's what you do. Yeah. So the numbers are gone. There's no numbers mat anymore. It's all strings, even and odd. Okay. All right. Let's look at. Equals this. All right. So. Constructor to what is this? Constructor to class. Okay. I'm gonna switch up things. I think this is more important versus the next ones, and these have to be done before, in my opinion. Because again, as I said, all of these is ES6, right? We should be able to run this in our browser. The way the exercises are, you have to use Node.js and all that stuff. But I am following through that since this is ES6, we should be able to run all of this in our browser. So the next one we will do is ES6 modules. ES6 module. So now remember in our Node.js, we have option for modules, right? Require keyword, we do a module.exports, and then you do a require in some other file, right? So the same concept is introduced in JavaScript now, right? They are using the same thing, and React uses it a lot. You will see this keyword. That's why it's important to understand what modules are. How do you export and import? Concept-wise, same as Node.js, right? You export a file, and then you import that file in somewhere else, and then use the functions or variables that are defined inside it. Right? Same concept over here. We are going to create modules, and then we are going to import those modules in a different file. Okay, it's just the keywords that are different. Otherwise, the concept's still the same. So I'm going to copy my template. Ooh, what is this? All right. I just need this. I do need this one also. So I'm going to run this. All right. So let's start over here. I'm going to create a module. Let's call it. Okay. So look at my folder structure under ES6 modules. I have my index HTML, index.js, and then I have a third JavaScript file, right? And the a.js, I'm going to import that in my index.js. That's the purpose of this exercise. Okay. So the keyword to export is export. That's all. And the good thing about this is you can have multiple exports, right? For what do I mean by this? Let's suppose I want to export a variable called a. Give it some value, 2. Okay. So this is my JavaScript file. Suppose I have a variable called a inside this file, and I want this to be accessed from outside. Okay. Let's call it a1. Now I want this to be imported in my index.html. This is important. It's not going to work in your JavaScript code if you don't do this. Where you say script index.js, you have to give it a type module. Type module. It's not going to work if you don't put this keyword and you're importing something in index.js. That's all you have to do. Type module when you're exporting when you are using your index.js. Okay. Now this is a file. It's exporting something, and in my index.js, I'm going to import this file. If you type in import, Visual Studio kind of comes up with the first statement. You press enter, it will auto complete for you. This is the syntax, and in React you will see this a lot. If anybody has looked at React, this is little. Again, that's not React, that's ES6. As I said, the code that you're looking over here, 40% of the code is all ES6. It has nothing to do with React. All right. So so what am I importing from? I'm importing from a.js. Again, you have to mention the JS part. If you don't, it's going to give you error. It's not going to run. Okay, this is the syntax. So I'm trying to import something from my index.js. So what am I trying to import? I'm trying to import a1. So I'm going to say import a1 from a, and then you can go ahead and console log a1. Okay, this is how it shows up. You see the 2. Okay, now this is not the only thing you can import. If I have another variable, again, you can. This is the good part. You can have multiple export statements. So you're going to a2 is equal to 3. Okay, but then when I go my index, I have to add the second thing that I'm trying to import. Okay, so you see the second word 3. You can also import functions. So go ahead and create a function in your a.js and import that. So export function a3 message log message. Okay, now I have a function a3 that has been exported. So go back, import a3. From index Okay, so I'm importing a function, A3. Use it just as a function. Again, go back to your module file. This is a function that you're exporting. Okay, now arrow functions, you can convert it into an arrow function. The only thing is arrow functions are kind of exported in a little bit different way. So export, well actually no, it's kind of similar. Const A4, this is going to be my arrow function, message. Oops, message. Okay, and then you can call this from your index. A4, A4. Okay, so you can export variables, you can export let variables, const variables, functions, anything you want. All right, any questions so far?
Did you say that it is something in the index that is in that file?
Yes, it has to be, when you do include the script, it has to be module. Okay, and again, if you have already looked at React, you will see this everywhere in React. This is what is going on. So React modules are exporting something in ES6, and this is how you're importing stuff from there. Okay. Any questions? All right. The other thing is that you will see a keyword called default. Anybody has seen that one? Just a little bit. Saw in React. All right. Export default. Let's say A5 is equal to 5. All right. What this means? Oops. What is this? Oh, A5 is not defined. All right. What this is saying is, when you create an import statement, by default, just export this out. Basically, import. Okay. Where is it not defined? It should be a const or a let. Let's see. Const. It has to be what? What does it have?
Expert
Oh yeah, yeah. But I want to export. I want to export something. I think it has to be. Yes, yeah, yeah. That's what I was trying to go for. So if I const A5 is equal to 5, and then you export default 5. Yeah. Okay. So export default means that you don't need a it's not a separate module. If you just do it without the parentheses, it's going to export that by default, right? If you're not importing anything from the file, this is going to be exported in every case. That's what the default keyword is. All right. Again, the problem with the downside of default is you can only have a single default, only one default. Okay. Now, if you see over here, the exports, they have to match. If I have A1, I need to have A1 over here, right? But this thing, the default one, you can name it anything you want, and you can start using A1. You can start using that variable. Yes. So default This thing doesn't have to match over there. Why? Again, what does default mean? Default means that whenever there's an import, just go ahead and import this. And there's always going to be a single default. You cannot have multiple defaults. So every time there's a default, it's always going to export this part out. So the name doesn't really matter when you're importing because it knows that without the parentheses, this is what you are importing because there can be only one default. There won't be more than one, so it is always going to be this thing that is getting exported. If you have the default keyword, huh? And the entire file. This can be, you can change this to a function, okay, and then do a default, it will return a function. But there can be only one, so it always knows that this is what is coming back. So that's why the naming over here doesn't matter. You can name this anything. This thing in the print in the curly brackets, this is important. It has to be exactly match the one that you are exporting. Okay, so if you see the syntax in React now, this means that the module that you're using without the curly bracket is declared as default. Everything else is being exported, and then you have to individually export each module out. That's what's going on React. And you see on page. Extremely, you'll see this is how React works, and they are importing all kind of modules. Do I have anything else? Okay. All right. Any questions? Again, we already have this functionality in Node.js. JavaScript ES6 kind of saw that opportunity. Of course, I want to separate my things out. I want to keep different modules, and this is what they came up with: import and export. Okay. Again, it is. If I introduce you React today, you guys will see and you guys will think, well, this seems like a React thing. Again, look at the code. It's not. 40% of the things are ES6. React just relies on it, kind of enforces us to understand these topics and kind of use these. So we saw ES6 modules. Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's look at the next part. This is interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Classes. Anybody know what a class is? This is more common knowledge in other programming languages. Again, if you look at behind the scenes, what JavaScript is doing is actually just a function, but I'm not going to go there and explain. But anybody idea what a class is in programming? Matt?
Yeah, it's kind of a whole library.
Right. Basically, the definition is a class is a template. If you look up what a class is, the main definition comes back is a class is a template. What do I mean by template? It's a blueprint. What is a blueprint of? It's a blueprint for an object, not a JavaScript object. I'm talking about object-oriented programming, right? Yeah. So ES6 thought it's a good idea that we all start using object-oriented programming, all right? So in React, you will see the keywords. You guys have seen class and extends, right? That's an ES6. It has nothing to do with React. This is all ES6. Class and extends. All right. So what is a class? Kyle? No, so the question is, what is the difference between a class and a constructor? And I was going to get into it. So what does a constructor do? Remember? It creates an object. It initializes an object. You pass in some values and it creates an object, right? A class consists of a constructor. The constructor has to exist inside a class. And why? What is the purpose of a class? The purpose of a class is to create objects. And what is a constructor? It creates an object. So a class is going to have a constructor which is going to go ahead and create the objects for you. So again, class is like the outer thing. Within that, there's a constructor somewhere over there. The The reason for a constructor is again creating an object, basically initializing an object. And I'll show you the code in a minute that how it works. But a constructor basically resides inside a class. Now, for example, um, I have a class called car. Okay. Usually classes are named as nouns, right? I have a class called car, and every class has some properties and some methods or functions, right? What would be a property of a car? It has four doors, wheels, color, right? These are all properties of a car. What are the methods? Runs, accelerates, brakes, right? Methods are always going to be verbs. Remember from our JavaScript objects, same concept over here, right? So you would define a class and the class will have some properties and some methods. Okay, so it is basically generalizing an object. Now, if I say a BMW is a car, right? So, but BMW kind of follows the same properties and same methods over here, right? If I say Mercedes, it has the same properties, same methods. But say Toyota, it has the same properties, same methods. So this car, is basically kind of generalizing all the objects. So your BMW would be an object, your Mercedes would be an object, Toyota would be an object of this class. This is the purpose of a class. You kind of create smaller objects from the class. Now you guys would belong to a class of student. Okay, and then you will have individual names. Michael, Blair, Aaron, right? These are objects of the class student. That's how it works. Let me show you the coding example over here. Class. Same template. Now, I won't be able to do the class until I showed you the modules because I'm going to export these classes out. Is correct? Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and create a class called car.js. Come on. Car.js. Okay. What is the syntax? Syntax is class car and then something similar to like JavaScript object. This is a syntax. You say class and then you give the name of the class. Okay. Now I said each class will have a constructor. Right? Constructor is the function that gets called every time you create an object of this class. Automatically gets called. You don't have to call it. All right. So the function is called constructor, and then you can pass in some initial values that you're trying to create. For example, let's say model and top speed. Okay. Similar to the previous constructor that we have seen, which you guys skip the total homework. Oh, you guys know. Which homework? Yeah. It's coming back to bite you guys now. So I have a constructor and I'm passing in two values to it. Top speed and this dot top speed is equal to top speed. Okay. So this dot model, this dot top speed, these are the two properties that belong to my car class. All right. Then I said these will have functions or methods. So let's go ahead and create a function log speed console log speed is top speed. Okay. All right. Now, this is how you define a class. You can have multiple properties and more methods over here. But this is the basic structure. Again, you can convert this into an arrow function. We'll take a look at it if we have time. But go ahead and convert it into arrow function, and this will still work. All right. Now, how do I use this in my index.js? What would I have to do if I want to use this outside? Export it. Excellent. Um, export, and I only have, this is the only thing that I'm exporting from my class. Okay, so I can use the default keyword because there's literally nothing else that I want to export. I want to export this whole class outside. Okay, so this is easy because I just put my default keyword, so I don't have to worry about when I call this method over here. So in my index.js, I have to do an import. Okay, from .car.js. All right, do I need the parentheses? It's a default, so I don't need it. You can call anything you want. Car. Now I have my car class available. So how do I create an object for car? I will say call it BMW. What's the next? New. You guys remember it, even though you guys didn't do the homework. All right, so my car. So when you do new and you call your car, it's going to call the constructor. All right, by default, this calls a constructor. Now my constructor is expecting two things, model and speed. So I need to pass in something. BMW dot speed is say 200. Okay, then I can call my method log speed, and this should go ahead and output the speed. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, there it is. So this is how you create a class, and then you again, React is littered with this. You guys must have already seen. This is what it means when you see the class, and these are kind of small components. And then the last thing is you will see the extends keyword. Important, extends. Anybody knows what extends mean? Object-oriented programming is called inheritance. It's getting complicated now. All right, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is you have two classes. And then you are inheriting the properties from this class, and you're giving it to this. So the class on the top is called the parent, and this is called the child class. Again, why do we need this? Now, I can have a parent class vehicle, and then this could have another class called car, and it can also have a class called truck, right? There are some things that are common between both of these, right? Well, not number of wheels, but the speed. You can log the speed for both of them, but there are some differences. Let's say it can carry passengers, number of passengers, but in the truck, it doesn't really make sense to put in the variable called number of passengers. You would say the load or the weight that it can carry. So these two classes will get all the properties and functions from its parent class, and then it can add some stuff to it also. And when you're trying to use the properties from this parent class, that's where you use the keyword extends. Okay, for example, if I have a class called vehicle, and then let's go ahead and copy this and change this to vehicle class.
It's not gonna work.
What is that? Wild Wild West, yeah.
is not what
Yeah, yeah.
you have to have for that.
Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to extend from my vehicle class. Will this work if I do this thing? It won't work because I need to import. Excellent. So go ahead and import from slash vehicle. Oops. Oh, yeah, I got it. Must call the super constructor. Super. Oops, wrong place. Basically, it is saying that I need to call the constructor of vehicle before I call the constructor of the child. Okay, so this is what the extend keyword you will see. So this every time you see an extend keyword, please understand this is the parent class that exists somewhere else, and this child class is inheriting some of the properties and some of the methods, all of the properties and all of the methods which belong to this class over here. That's why you will see the extends keyword. Again, you will see in React you have a class name and I think it's app.components or something. So basically app.components is your superclass. It has methods and all that stuff. All of these are kind of available to you in this class. You don't have to declare them. You can just go ahead and use them. Okay, so if I have a method in my vehicle that exists over there, I can totally use this in my car car class or when I'm creating my object over here. Okay, why? Because the car actually creates its own properties and methods and is also inheriting all the properties and methods that are declared in this class over here. All right, I know this is allowed. We still have like two more. Again, those were like optional, but it's not. Those are not as difficult. When we get to React, I can go over them as well. Let me see. It's actually just one the object destructuring. It's not as complicated. I can go through that on Thursday or whenever we run into any activity. But I think the modules one and the class one is important because you will see this keyword a lot. A lot. Yes. Again, now if you have already seen React and you see this, you will see that a lot of code is actually coming from ES6. It has nothing to do with React. Now, next time on Thursday, we'll start with React, everybody's favorite topic. Hopefully, please go back and look at these activities. You don't have to be proficient, but you need to understand that what is React and what is ES6, right? Because people get confused if it is the React syntax. It's not. It's actually JavaScript, simple syntax. They're just using it. Okay. Important ones are export, extend. These are important modules. Arrow functions, let and const. You guys already answered. These are more important ones. Okay? Any questions? I know there's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Get a headache? Yeah. Well, that's all I had. Well, again, if React was introduced without this, again, people would think that this is part of React. That's the biggest confusion that people have. I know, yeah, I would think the same thing. So basically, you covered 40% React in like 3 hours.
So wait, the extend is like because the vehicle is the parent to the car.
Yes. Basically, you're saying every method and property that vehicle has, give it to car, so you can call those. You don't have to create it over here.
Yeah.
When you create something, you have it somewhere.
Yeah.
This extends this functionality that you had.
Like everything that's in there.
Right.
That's like like a truck.js.
Uh-huh.
That's basically how you can use that extends. And then if you
Yes.
add the truck,
Right.
truck extends vehicle because it's going to have this.
Yep. Let's see if my log is read and all that stuff. So basically, I don't even need this log speed method over here. It's already there, and my code will still work. You see, I still get the speed. I don't even have this method, but this method is declared over here, so it is calling the parent class. It's a really nice concept.
That's awesome.
And this is like the 101 if you do Java, C Sharp. This is like a requirement that everybody should know. But JavaScript never had it. But with ES6, they were like, oh, I think behind the scenes, this is just a function. I'll be honest with you. If you look it up, it looks cool, but it,
Use JavaScript.
hey, Kyle. Yes, yes.